Let's go. So glad to have you, Alex. Bro, everywhere I go, I hear your name. All around Florida, bro, you're just like the GOAT. Like, whether it's storage facilities, Airbnbs, rentals, just you have your hands dipped in everything. Yeah, we just hear your name. Like, so we look up to you. We're glad to have you on. But the premise of this show is definitely around short-term rentals, Airbnbs. So how did you get into real estate? Let's start off there. And then like, why did you choose short-term rentals?
Okay. So 10 years ago, was in UCF, heard an ad on the radio, learned how to buy houses, no money down. It was a Ronald Grand seminar. Went to that. It was a free seminar and signed up for his boot camp, which was like $3 or $5 grand. Went to that boot camp. Back then, it's kind of like different than a lot of seminars they put on today. It was like a pitch fest. Everybody goes up and they're selling a product and something like that. I literally bought like everything. I bought like every product they had, everything they were selling. I had a full-time job at the same time doing timeshare sales. And so I was like half in it. And then when I started actually doing some deals, I was like, I can't do both. So I just quit my job, started doing real estate full-time, and just started doing with wholesaling. And then pretty much at that time, we were buying like REOs from foreclosures. So that's how we got started. And then just for a couple of years, I worked for somebody else because I was like missing something in my business. I'm missing something. I started working for somebody else for their wholesale company. Pretty much ran his wholesale business while he was doing rehabs and new builds. And then after like 3 years, kind of was like not going anywhere else with that company. So, because it's a small company. And then me and my brother, I'm like, hey, let's go do our own thing. And then for 3 years, we did our own thing, just me and him, flipping houses. Thought we were doing pretty good. For a couple of years, just doing 3 to 5 deals a month. And then went to an event where people were doing like 20, 30 deals a month. And I was like, oh shit, like I need to be doing that. And the key for that was you gotta spend more money on marketing. They're like, what are you spending on marketing? I'm like, oh, about $5 grand. They're like, yeah, try spending 30. So I was like, okay. So I took a business Amex card, put 30K on it, PPC marketing, direct mail. And the next month, 45 days later, I made like 111 grand. And then so it was like, oh, that's what you got to do, just spend money. Spend money, make money. And then so we started reinvesting a lot. And then we started building the team and starting that off and just kind of growing the business. So now my wholesale business is automated. The rehabs is pretty much automated, the rentals and everything else. And so my main focus now is Airbnbs and self-storage.
Love it. Like, that sounds like a pretty dope journey, not gonna lie.
It took a little longer than I probably should have taken, but.
How long, like from that whole?
So I've been in real estate for 10 years. So 3 years I really worked for somebody else. 3 years me and my brother thought we were doing good, making, 3 to 5 deals a month, 30, 50 grand a month. And that we thought that was good. We'd make some money, go party and travel, do stuff like that. But then I saw people were actually really crushing it. And then that's where we wanted to be. So. And that's why it's important to like continue to like educate yourself and go to the events and network and mastermind, because if you're like, I was stuck in a circle where I was like some of the top in Orlando,
right?
But there was people doing way bigger things. People were like, oh, the market's so tight over here. Like, I have so many deals. I'm like, oh, I'm hanging out with the people with the wrong mindset. Yeah. So being around people who are like, oh, there's plenty of deals. We're trying to figure out how to get to 50 deals a month. Those are people you need to hang out with. You need to hang out with people who have a higher mindset, who've been there, and that's what you want. So being around those people opened my mind. Like, there's plenty of deals out there.
Yeah, no, it's so true, because like I always hear the power of proximity. Like being close to that circle, like that you're talking about, like that event that I was talking about last year, right, off air. It's like, yeah, being around Pace Morby's and the Jamil Damji's and the Clint Colothier and those dudes are just like, they're moving at a different level. So. I love it, man. Like once you get into that proximity, game changer for sure.
Different level.
Yeah. 100%. Awesome, man. So short-term rentals, what are you doing? Like how many do you have right now?
So I believe we have 12 doors. So a couple of them are multi-units. So like our first one was in Daytona Beach. It's a quadplex. So it was actually brought to me by somebody. I kind of helped him get into real estate, and his first purchase was an Airbnb, and he was crushing it. And then he found this other deal in the same area in Daytona Beach. And so he found this one, and we were like, he wanted a partner. So I had private money that I've raised, a lot of private money over the years. And so we brought private money to the deal, partnered on the deal. So I brought all the funds, negotiated the deal, and he pretty much designs it, and he manages the Airbnb. So we did the rehab together with our crews together. and it's a 4-unit, and so it's a 2 2-1s and 2 1-1s, and so that's obviously 4. And then we have another on the same block. We have another duplex type 2-family that's under renovation now. One actually tomorrow, the first guest checks in.
Oh, nice.
In front of the house is under full renovation still, and then we have another one that's next door, and then he also has another one. And then I have a few in Daytona Beach, one in Palm Coast, Pensacola, Florida, Pompano Beach, a duplex, Cape Coral I got from you, and there's another one there somewhere, I think.
How's the one, just out of curiosity, how's the one doing in Palm Coast?
Palm Coast is doing good. Yeah, it's it's not so close to the beach. The closest beach is Flagler Beach, which is actually a really nice beach, and it's like about 20-minute drive, and it's renting out so good. Right now, the first month, I think we netted $3,700.
Nice.
Yeah, the first full month of it being rented.
Dang, was that like a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom?
It's a 4-2.
4-2 pool home or
4-2, not a pool home.
Dang, that's amazing, man. Congrats.
Yeah, it's doing really good. Nice rehab, really nice, like over the top rehab.
Love it.
And you're finding them off market or any MLS deals or not even?
So most of them are off market. The one that's in renovation, Daytona Beach, was off the MLS. We made a cash offer, bought it with hard money. The one was off market from Cape Coral, from JB. I got another one from another wholesaler in Pompano Beach we bought. That was with seller financing. Negotiated that one with seller financing, which was huge because it was a very high purchase price. And everything else is off market. So with our wholesale company, everything that comes in, my brother who pretty much runs my wholesale company, he knows like what we're looking for. So he'll say, hey, this might be a good Airbnb. Hey, this might be a good rehab to keep. Hey, this might be a good wholesale deal. So we do wholesale most of our properties, but when see those opportunities come through, then we, kind of cherry pick those and put them aside for ourselves.
That's the best strategy. I want to cherry pick some of those.
Yeah.
I need to get on your list, bro.
I got you.
That's awesome, man. So, what are some markets that you're like really, really interested in right now in getting into in terms of Airbnb? Are there any ones that are on your radar?
So I do like Daytona Beach a lot. We like Daytona Beach because it's they're very strict. So like there's a certain area that allows it, and that's it. So it's limited supply of Airbnbs. So if you can be in that area, you can find some. That's you have less competition. I want to be in hotter. I like the hotter areas. Like my buddy has a bunch in Miami. He's crushing it. He has big homes, and so I would like to. This year we want to buy 12 Airbnbs, and we want at least 2 of them to be like luxury Airbnbs, like $1 million properties plus, because there's a demand for that, and especially if you could be in like those hot areas by the beach, close to the beach, like a block away, or like across the street, or even on the water, we would even do something like that. Those other areas like Gatlinburg or those like Blue Ridge, Georgia. One of my buddies looking around there.
Joshua Tree, all those nice
So
ones.
hot little areas like that. We could buy nicer big houses out there. That'd be like our go-to of what we were looking for right now. But if you can buy anything that's legal in Florida that we can legally do Airbnbs, that's what we want. So Tampa's like wide open with Airbnb. They're like allowing it over there. Tampa's the other one I got. So I got one in Tampa.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Damn.
So
that market's really hot right now.
Yeah. It's a nice big house too. And that's like a 2-family too as well. And that one was actually off the MLS, but I got it from a wholesaler as well.
I just saw one in sub 2. It was a 2-unit, 2-1 on both sides in Tampa, and it was like 43 to get in. So
that's not bad. Yeah, you got to watch out with like some people though who post, because somebody sent me, hey, you can get this with Airbnb, and I look up the walls. I'm like, no, you can't. Yeah. So like, you have to like make sure you double check the county and the zoning and all that to make sure it's legally allowed. Because if you go in there buying it thinking you can Airbnb it and you can get a quarter of the rent, based on a market rent, you're going to be very screwed.
So for some deals, are you underwriting it only as short-term rental, or would you pivot to long-term rental and pull it down even if the zoning didn't allow?
So we want to at least break even on a long-term rental. So if worst case, anything were to happen, Airbnb or the city, the county says no more, we don't know what could happen, then we still at least cover our debt service and our expenses and everything like that by the long-term rental. And our rents are constantly going up, and we continue to see them going up, and then we expect them to continue to go up. So in the long run, we will be good. But if anything happens, at least we're covered, and we're not going to be negative cash flow.
Right.
No,
Anything but
sense.
negative.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Just to go back a little bit about like regulations and permits and all that stuff. Like, let's say you identify a property, you underwrite it, you say, man, this is going to be great for Airbnb. Like, what's the next steps in trying to find? Who do you talk to about regulations? Who do you call? Is there a map? Like, is there a cheat sheet?
So we typically call zoning, but we also look at like Airbnb and see like, are there other Airbnbs in here? Sure. So if you look like in Orlando, you search Airbnb, there's really like none. You can't really see any. Now there might be a couple, but it's not like a shitload. Like if you go to Nashville or Daytona Beach or Miami, things like that. So if there's other Airbnbs and a bunch of Airbnbs, then it's probably working. And then also you can check like Facebook, like Airbnb Fort Lauderdale, Airbnb, whatever the city is. And there's like little groups typically on those. So you can see if there's regulation and see like kind of what hoops you got to jump through. But typically we just call the county first and say, hey, is Airbnb allowed in this area?
Just give them the address.
Yeah. I don't give them the address.
Oh, gotcha.
Just in case, But I just say, hey, is Airbnb allowed here? We're looking at properties in this zip code or on this street, or I'll give them like a house like a couple doors down.
Right. Okay.
Just in case.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just because if there is like a little loophole you can do, maybe we'll attempt it, but don't want to give them the full address.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's something that is going to be pretty valuable to the listeners, because I know like, individuals that are looking to get into the game, they approach me and say, hey man, I want to buy some Airbnbs. What do you think of this property? And they're not even thinking about the regulations. Right. Like they've some of them already got their deal under contract or they close and they're like, wait, dude, I just found out that I can't do it here.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah. So like, I think regulations is something that people need to know about for sure.
You got to do your due diligence first and make sure not only like for the property, get inspections done, make sure it's a good property and you know what the rehab is going into it, but also regulation. You got to make sure it's going to be allowed once you get everything set up and you have like bought all the furniture, things like that. So it's a lot of outlay of cash if you get stuck, 20 grand of new furniture.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then beyond the due diligence, how are you finding the daily rate and making sure it's a good deal from a STR perspective?
So my property manager, my business partner on Airbnbs, he manages these properties for me. So he does the price checking and literally just the names of the
AirDNA?
AirDNA is the one we actually check.
Price Labs.
I've never heard of that one. Maybe he mentioned it. But AirDNA is what we check. That's what we check when we go into the property. Like, hey, what do we expect it could rent for? Right. On the daily pricing of it, like changing the prices every day, there's tools you can download. I don't know the names off the top of my head, but there's different apps you can use through Airbnb that allows you to see how to gauge the pricing.
Love it.
Daily, change it out.
Yeah.
You also want to make sure you're checking like local events in that area. So like you're in Daytona, there's like a
bike week or something huge, right? Jack up the price.
On like I think it's like Rockville in May. You gotta make sure you're priced up right, because like the hotels are priced up, and you gotta be priced up as well.
Absolutely, and there's some savvy consumers out there. They'll like go in there way ahead of time, and they'll say like, "Oh my gosh, this host forgot to adjust their rates and book you real quick."
For sure.
And like that even happens to a lot of new Airbnb hosts. Because like right whenever you list, you'll get like 20% off, for X amount of, I guess, 3 times. And people will go in there like book Christmas in like January for, and take the 20%. That's savage. Yeah, that's savage.
Yeah, you gotta watch out that. So what Chris does, he only books out when he first starts it. He only books out, allows the calendar open for like 6 weeks or 2 months. So that way you can make sure they're not taking like those holidays or July 4th or Labor Day weekend or whatever it may be. So you want to make sure when you have those first booking, you can set the parameter for your calendar to only be like open for the first 6-8 weeks.
Smart. Yeah. Like if you're going to utilize the 20%, it has to be within this, time frame.
You can literally block out the rest of the calendar so they can't even see it's open. So make sure you don't get screwed.
That's a good tip for sure. Yeah. Actually, it's a blue gem. So we didn't tell you, but the name of the podcast is called Blue Gems. Nice. And Blue Gems has like 2 different, representations. The first representation, it stands for successful Airbnbs. And if you go in and like search for a property and like, let's say you stayed in one last year and it was spectacular, you're trying to find it again, but it was really popular. and you're trying to find exact dates, you'll have to like move the dates around and find whenever it's available. Then you'll have this like little pop-up that says rare find, and it'll have a blue gem right there, just like signifying that, this one's really popular. And then the other like representation, what we're trying to like take off with is like each episode, we're trying to have like one or two of these blue gems that will be like tactical,
actionable items for the listener to be like, I'm going to do that. Yep. Alex said this, I'm going to go and implement that in my business, right?
Yeah, almost like dropping nuggets or dropping gems, but
bombs.
Exactly. So just dropping blue gems. So that was definitely a blue gem for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So now Chris, he's your partner or he's property manager?
So we're partnered on a few that he found the deal and I brought the money. And then there's others that, I have my wholesale company and then we found my own deals and I bought them, and like the Cape Coral when I initially didn't buy it to Airbnb, it like re-renovated like a regular remodel. We're just gonna rent it out. Then I saw there was other Airbnbs in the area. I'm like, I'll probably just turn this into Airbnb. So we kind of redid the design a little bit and then put furniture in there. And I was gonna like manage it myself, and I was like, I don't really want to manage this or learn how to do it. So I'm just like, hey, Chris, would you want to manage this property for me? And so he gets a nice management fee. I think it's like 20%. And he handles like everything on the management side. So a lot of these other Airbnbs I don't own with him, I own solely, and he just manages them for me.
That's not a bad deal.
No, for sure. Especially because now you're going to trust them to operate it effectively, right? Because one of the challenges you've seen is bad management companies, right? They don't know what they're doing from a pricing standpoint, and then they're not looking after your investment overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they become so inundated, they don't have the bandwidth to actually successfully run
just a number,
Airbnb. Yeah, you become a number. Like if I had 50 properties that I would have to manage, I'm going to set it and forget it because I don't have enough space to, do it all. So if you have somebody that's working for you and, the quality's going to be there for sure.
Yeah, I think that's an issue with all kinds of real estate, like managing single family rentals, just regular rentals, managing apartment buildings, managing self-storage. Like there's management companies who do that, but no one's going to look after it like you would. It's your asset. Yeah. So we manage all our properties like in-house. So the self-storage we manage ourselves, the Airbnbs, single family. Like I might pay a local agent to get me a renter, and I'll just pay them a fee. But then that's it. If because we have out-of-state rentals, so I'll be like, hey, find me a renter, but I'm going to manage it from there. Like I don't need you to do anything else. Just find me a tenant. So we'll do that.
That's a good tip for sure. So do you ever utilize any of these Airbnbs yourself, like family vacations? Because like that's one of my things. Like I'm trying to build a portfolio to where I can have 100 units across the country where my wife and I could go travel, or like my family's in town, like they could have a whole big house, or we could do Thanksgiving in Seattle or whatnot, right? Yeah. So are you using these as vacation homes as well?
We are not. And the one, that's one reason we want to buy the luxury Airbnbs, because although they're because the ones we have aren't on the beach, if we're going to go to Daytona Beach or Pompano Beach or something like that, we're probably going to get a hotel that's on the water, So you're not going to really stay at your Airbnb. And so even I talked with some buddies about, partnering and buying some luxury Airbnbs. I'm like, hey, even if it's not on the beach, we're not going to stay there. It could be super nice and across from the beach, but you're more likely to just be like, well, I can just rent this out and then pay for my hotel. Yeah. So it's kind of the same concept we were looking at Turos. I want to buy a Ferrari and then Turo it, and then I can drive it, a couple of times. It pays for itself, and I get to drive it here and there. I'm like, I might as well just buy a bunch of Jeeps, Turo those, and it pays for my Ferrari, and nobody drives my Ferrari. Kind of like that concept. But if I could find some nice ones in Lake Tahoe and Denver, where ski resorts, super nice Airbnbs, I would definitely buy those, and with the intention of using them often. But I know some people who have those in ski resorts, and they said they pretty much break even. They don't make any money. He's like, I use it 3 times, 3 weekends, and because summer's not that hot, and with the HOA fees and things like that, he's like, I literally break even, but I get free place to stay, my weeks of choice. So I would definitely do something like that.
Turo.
I'm in the Turo game, so it's funny you brought that up. Yeah, I have 4 cars in my fleet, and we do more than break even. But to your point, I wouldn't buy a car to use it personally.
Yeah.
I don't drive these at all. I never see them. We have a management company that handles everything, and so, we're doing it purely for profit. And so I would probably take the same approach with my Airbnbs, except for the fact that you're able to reserve a week at a time, around the country. But I think the more you use it, the less cash flow you're going to have, and you got to approach it a little differently.
For sure. Yep, exactly. It's definitely different. But if you find those super nice ones, you're going to want to probably stay there.
Yeah.
Those Lux ones are pretty sick.
Yeah, for sure.
Lux, we haven't talked because Lux is like a category in Airbnb.
Yeah.
100%.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see a trend towards that in the future? Like these high-end properties getting higher returns than, let's say, your 3-2 a block from the water, just because of saturation?
So this guy was talking I was talking to this guy who has a bunch in Tampa. He manages from other people, and he has his own. And he was telling me, man, if you look at the numbers, the best ones are 3 and 4 bedrooms. And I'm like, that makes sense. But my buddy has 2 in Clearwater, 1 across the beach and on the beach, and he's netting like $30K a month on each. So it's like, I believe you, but he's crushing it with 1.
Yeah.
So like, I'm going to give it a shot, my own shot. And I think there is a luxury. There's more people, especially like if you have it in Florida. If you have it in a hot area, it's going to make sense. If you have $1 million property that sleeps 10 in DeLand, it might not do as good as the one that's in Miami Beach, across from the beach, something like that. So I think those high-end ones, they fit if you make sure like you segment your tenants, like like these tenant, like my Chris underwrites like the tenant. He's like, what are you gonna do there? Like, why are you going there? Like, you not just gonna let anybody into your $2 million Airbnb and they destroy it. So you want to make sure like you vet the tenants who are gonna rent the place. But I think there's gonna be always an influx of people who are gonna be traveling to Florida. There's obviously pent up demand still. A lot of people are traveling, spending a lot of money, and it's a luxury. But I think there's groups of people who will travel together and always rent that space. And you don't have to rent it as much. You don't have to have an 80% occupancy. If you're at 60% occupancy, you can still crush it because those places are like $1,000, $2,000 a day.
What is your opinion on the Disney market, being from Orlando?
I actually was asking JB about that, asking his opinion, because I don't have any in Orlando or in those areas. But I feel like the one thing is there oversaturation, unless you have those super badass.
That's why I brought it up.
You
Like, if you go like a $1.5 million property with 10 bedrooms, deck it out with a theme, then maybe it's a bit different from a saturation standpoint.
Yeah, I think you stand out above the rest, and that's what I like having Chris as like a partner on these deals, because he like makes them super like unique. And like, we bought an Airbnb in Tampa, and it was already operating and made last year like $80K gross. And it looked terrible. I'm like, this thing is ugly. And so like I think we put like 30 grand into it, maybe if not more, and new furniture. And I bought all the furniture too. I never even looked at the property. I'm like, we bought it with the furniture. We paid extra for that. But we redid everything, and just to make it newer and to give it life and like a theme and like an identity, rather than just like just walk into like somebody else's house. Like, you don't want it really looking like you're walking into somebody else's house. You want to be like, this is like a nice spot. It's a vacation spot. Like, you want to feel like you're on vacation, not like you're just at your mom's or something.
Yeah.
Or your aunt's.
Like somebody just left like 2 hours before you forgot their keys.
I feel like that's most
I
Airbnbs though. A lot of Airbnbs are just like random furniture that people could have moved out like last week.
Yeah.
For sure. And they get graded that way. Like the rating on there is like very crucial. I thought like that one was rated 4.3, and I thought that was okay. But Chris is like, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's really terrible.
That's a bad result.
That's bad, yeah.
I thought that was okay, but I guess not. So,
and it has a lot to do with the algorithm too. So like, if you have a 4.3, you could be on like the 18th page down where there's no exposure to your property, So the ranking is really critical. So
The
yeah.
Airbnb rating system is kind of odd though, because 4 stars you would be like, oh, that's not too bad,
Right.
but it's actually horrible for
Yeah.
Airbnb.
Yeah.
Like if you don't get a 5-star, that's really bad.
Yeah, like you start to get it in the 4.7s, and I'm like, I would not stay there, babe. Like we need like 4.89
Right,
is like the lowest that I would.
But think
dabble.
about other things, right? If someone was like, oh, how was that experience? Oh, it was a 4 out of 5. I'd be like, okay, it was
not bad,
pretty good.
Yeah, you would
But
go
in-
back.
Yeah, but in Airbnb, that's horrible.
Yeah, like you canceled your trip during stay.
Right.
With it's a 4.
Cockroaches everywhere.
Yeah,
4
yeah.
stars.
Yeah, for sure. It smells like bug spray or bug bombs. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
shit.
So I'm wondering if like there should be a revamp there. Should it be out of 10 or should they restructure that at all?
I think so. They also like there's a lot of backlash in the Airbnb community, or at least in my small circle, is like the things that you can rate, like communication, location.
Right.
Like location could mean a lot of things, like the neighborhood,
Proximity.
Like, the proximity to things, like. So yeah, I don't know. Their rating system, I think they're doing it as good as they can. But
Yeah, they learn as they go.
yeah, it could be out of 10 though. That would be way helpful. Because if you see like a 6, you're like, okay, that's definitely bad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So where do you see the short-term rental market headed?
I
in the
think
short
it's going to
term?
continue to grow. I think people want to have their own space, and like I like Airbnbs. I like hotels and Airbnbs for different reasons. When I'm with a group, I like the Airbnbs, and if you especially can get a super nice one on the beach, good locations, close proximity to areas, I like that better. Sometimes if it's just me and my girl, I'm not going to stay at an Airbnb. I like cleaning that, like they clean the room every day at the hotels, things like that. There's restaurants at the hotel. So it just kind of depends, but I think people are, like I said, like earlier, everybody's going to continue to vacation. There's pent-up demand for that. I think it's going to continue to grow, and with technology and more availability of them, because more people are getting into them and buying them, it's going to be more present, and it's going to be there, and people are going to continue to do it, and I don't think it's going to go away anywhere.
Yeah, it always leads me back to that statistic, and I've said it a couple times on
Yeah.
the show.
Show, pretty much.
Yeah, there's 32% of all rentals in the country right now are either
Crazy.
short-term rentals or becoming a short-term rental.
Oh, shit.
One out of 3. Like
Yeah,
a
that's
third
crazy.
of them. It's wild.
So 10 years ago, do you know what that number
I don't
was?
know, yeah.
Because clearly it's trending upward.
I
but
would
I'm
imagine
curious.
it was like really low. Like 10 years ago,
Before Airbnb?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, way less. I would think like
I mean, because like
2% something.
your Smoky Mountains was always going to be a short-term rental.
Yeah,
Your
Orlando,
Jersey Shore,
They were still short-term
Orlando,
rentals.
short-term rentals. But now, I mean, you have short-term rentals in like a random town in Missouri. Right.
I know people who crush it in Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland's popping.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's another spot that's illegal.
Yeah.
I had a fourplex locked up under contract and plan on making all 4 of them Airbnbs. One of the units was already made for Airbnb, and they were utilizing on Airbnb. Yeah. So I was like, cool, we're in the clear, Yeah. And then when I started talking to like regulations, they were like, it's not good here. At least like 10 months ago when I was looking at it, they were like, no go. Yeah. So yeah, look out for those regulations.
So I would consider yourself to be, at a very high level of real estate investing. Do you see people at your level getting into short-term rentals, or what is the trend there? Those bigger players like hedge funds, maybe institutional investors and things like that.
I don't know of any hedge funds doing it that I know of. I know they're doing like some build to rent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one thing we're looking at is like build to Airbnb. So we're looking at that.
Like a full community?
Not like a full community, like a fourplex. Like build a
Got it.
fourplex in an area that's allowed and build Airbnbs there. But I don't know any big, I know other like big guru people like buying Airbnbs. Like Pace is buying Airbnbs and things like that, but I don't know any like big hedge funds, BlackRock or anything like that doing short-term rentals.
Yeah, I've been seeing some in the news, but I don't know of anything definitive yet. But when that happens, in my opinion, it will be interesting to see how it affects pricing. Because once BlackRock gets in, now a lot more demand. Naturally, they have unlimited funds, right? So it just doesn't make sense from an ROI standpoint, and they're in.
Yeah, well, they're already buying like pretty high. So like, I know people who overpay for Airbnbs already. So they will overpay. I don't think it will affect. I think it's just the more if say, hey, we're going to start buying all to Airbnb, then it can make a big impact on, saturation. But I think price-wise of like acquiring them, I don't think it really will affect the pricing of the houses.
I'm also interested, like, I don't know if you guys remember, like, when Uber started off, like, they were paying their drivers a lot of money. Like, I don't know what the percentage was, but
Right.
Uber drivers were making really, really good money,
And they cut it back.
Yeah, and they cut it back significantly. And I wonder if they do almost the reverse effect where it's like, we're only paying 3% as hosts,
That's gonna change
will they
for
move
sure.
that to like 15, 20%? And like, a lot of us are still going to be like, well, we have to continue, know.
A lot of people will pivot though to direct bookings.
For sure. The good, not a lot. The good ones will, I think.
Yeah, for sure. You got to be good at marketing.
Yeah, but like
you two are going to pivot for sure if you see the value.
for sure, 100%. But like 70% of people are just going to be like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, I know Chris has direct bookings. That's how like the person who's moving in today or tomorrow at the one in Daytona Beach.
Oh, nice.
It's a direct booking because like they stayed in other ones that we've had, so they saw that this was coming up. Hey, do you have available?
Wow, that's
so
cool.
we do some direct bookings as well. So definitely a pivot there. I don't think they would jump up that kind of pricing because they would have backlash for sure. But if they went for 3 to 5%, I think no one's really going to bat an eye.
Yeah,
they'll take it. They might have something to say, but they might not do anything.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that jump like immediately, but gradually we could look up in 5 years and it's
You're
like,
like,
wait,
wow,
is
15?
it 18%? Like what? Yeah. So
Remember when it
inflation.
was 3?
right.
Everything's going up.
Exactly. Yeah, they might do that.
So
overall, you're bullish then, like on
sure.
the whole market.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know there's varying opinions on the market right now because things are so hot, especially in Florida. But I just don't see, because we have a supply issue, how things are going to go down.
Yeah, I think for sure in Florida at least, I'm trying to buy everything I can in Florida, whether it's single family, small apartments, self-storage, Airbnbs. I'm trying to buy as much as Florida just because of migration over here and the lack of supply, the demand shortage for the houses.
Net migration is a thing that a lot of people probably don't talk about, right? Where are people going and where are the trends there? Because demand is going to obviously be impacted from where the population is trending. And so Florida overall is just going to be attractive naturally because of that.
Yep, no sales tax. And when people from up north see like the prices here, they're like,
It's cheap.
yeah,
Coming from
we're on
California?
sale. Yeah.
Kidding me?
From California, from New York,
beautiful
New Jersey.
weather,
Yeah.
beaches everywhere. Yeah, it's hard to compete with for sure.
Yeah.
And I
crazy.
mean, not to mention COVID or anything, but like we're,
I mean, it's
we're
a factor,
open,
though.
We're open and like people are like, man, we've been locked down, like truly wearing masks for the last 2 years. So
Yeah, it's like at what point are we going to move beyond that, right?
right, yeah, for sure. So outside of short-term rentals, you mentioned something about storage facilities, and I know that's not necessarily what we're here for, but I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that are interested in like, why'd you pick storage and like what's so exciting about it?
So I have mobile home parks too and apartment buildings, and I have like partners who I've worked with on that. So like I've kind of like worked with people on what they're really good at. And so on self-storage, I had a buddy come to me. He's like, hey, I helped him get into wholesaling, and he was doing really well. He's like, I want to get into some commercial properties, how you own mobile home parks and apartments. And I was like, well, I had this book by Scott Myers for buying self-storage. I bought it like in 2017, never really went through it. Go through this, and then we can, talk about doing some deals together. So he went through it in like a month. I'm like, hey, we're going to give it back to me because I got to relearn it. So I relearned everything, and then just happened to be that Scott Myers was in town like the next month. So we went to his event and signed up for his coaching, and then literally in the next right away with our first marketing campaign, we got a lead, and we closed it in June of 2020. So we got that deal.
That's crazy.
He kind of pushed me into like going into another asset class. I already knew it was a good asset class. My main focus was building my wholesale team and get it automated for me. And so that happened, and we went to self-storage. We got the first one in June 2020, and then 2021 we bought 5. We bought 5 deals, self-storage. One's a new construction deal. The rest are all existing facilities. So we have one under contract right now to close in April. And yeah, so they've been all mom and pop owners, which is one of the reasons why we still like them, is there's not as much competition as like apartments, mobile home parks. It's kind of like a lesser known asset class, even though right now it's actually being much more popular than it has been in the past. But Also, it's less management intensive. So there's no toilets, really no tenants to deal with. So very easy to manage everything. Most of the mom and pop owners don't have like websites and aren't pushing prices. They're like 100% full, and they're like, oh, 100% full, everything's great. They're making money because either paid it off or, have a low debt on it. And so with us, we can go in there, automate it, give some marketing presence, push the rents up much higher. On one facility was like literally 50% of the market rent. So push up the rents high, automate the whole facility. All our managers are like on call, part-time. So it's very easy to manage. A lot of software that we use to automate the whole process, and just it's an easy deal to flip. All our projects are like way ahead of schedule on like our projections, like 3 to 5 years. So we're looking to probably in the next year refinance them all and continue to buy more, or package them together and then sell them to like a big REIT or a hedge fund or something like that.
And how are you financing these deals initially?
So with the self-storage, we raise private capital and we partner with them, and we have bank financing. So actually Fairwinds, local bank, they funded a few of our deals, and then some other ones we've had, we're using like the new construction, we're using like a bridge financing, or this one we bought in Winter Haven is a retail and self-storage, and that was more like a flip because there's so much add value so quickly that can be done. So we bought that with bridge lending as well, like hard money, and so we're gonna quickly just turn around and get that fully occupied and then refinance out and probably hold that one, or put that in the package and sell that off also. But it kind of, because it has that retail space, we didn't really kind of name it with the same brand, All Steel Storage, as we did the others, because they want it, like if someone's going to buy like a self-storage facility, they don't really want a piece of retail and like that. So like we kind of kept it separate, and that's why we came with the mentality of just flipping it. But it appraised $700,000 over our purchase price, and we already signed 2 leases that increased the value of another $500,000. Then we're going to add like 10,000 square feet. So like that value, we're going to double that property value in like a year. And so we'll be able to refinance it, and we'll probably just keep it. So just pull a lot of cash out, refinance it, and keep it cash flow.
And that's because the value is derived from the rents,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
So you're able to raise rents and then refinance back out because you've increased the value.
Correct. So the appraisal came in higher than our purchase price, because we negotiated obviously a good price. Yeah. That helps. But we signed like one lease. I just put literally bandit signs on the road because we had empty space. I just put like storefront for a lease. Got a phone call. Someone wanted to rent the space. They had another business down the street, and we signed that lease for $1,500 a month. That literally $1,500 a month at like an 8 cap. So $1,500 a month times 12 divided by 0.08 is like $275,000. So it adds $275,000 of income value to our property for the $1,500 a month income, not accounting expenses and stuff like that. But it's pretty good.
That's one thing about commercial that I really like. The value is derived from how much income you can generate, versus residential, where it's going to be based on appraisers, is more opinionated. You're coming in with an Airbnb, maybe the appraisal doesn't hit because they don't understand that you're going to be generating X amount of dollars from the property. So I think there could be an opportunity with commercial to use as Airbnb if they can see how much income you're generating from the property in a short-term rental space.
Yeah, and I think there's more lenders coming out with Airbnb financing. Now it's kind of like been out there for a while,
right?
That they're gonna be able to finance it kind of based on the cash flow,
right?
And I think I see it already, because that 4-unit we bought in Daytona Beach, behind us is another 4-unit that was an Airbnb before we had ours, and they sold for like $700 something grand, and that's like a $400,000 or $500,000 property. It sold for $700 grand because of the cash flow.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if someone bought it cash, but if they got financing, it was only because they based it off the cash flow.
Makes sense.
Could be DSCR loan product.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I mean,
you're seeing more of those, correct?
I'm seeing them a lot. Yeah, the DSCR loans. Have you seen those?
The coverage ratio.
Yeah, for sure. Like seeing it a lot, and even 15% down, and they'll basically, the lenders that are pretty savvy with the STRs and the Airbnb space, they're just using AirDNA's numbers to underwrite it, and then if it covers the expenses, then green light for them.
Check it out.
I know we got some names, but I might take some of those.
Yeah. I got you. Yep. So I mean, like they just need like 6 months of reserves, and like 680 credit score. It has to cash flow or like cover expenses on AirDNA, and then I think you have to put 15% down, 20% down, and golden. And it doesn't go against your DTI, so you could just buy as many of it.
Really.
Yeah,
if you have the
you
capital,
can buy as many as you want. You know? So
I like that.
Yeah, and if you get in good with like 1 or 2 lenders, then they're gonna be like, dude, I trust you. Yeah. Go ahead.
Makes
It'll
it easier,
be
for sure.
even easier for sure.
which I'm sure you already have, right? That's been probably a very big part of your career, getting in with a good lender.
So with private lenders, yes, 100%, because they fully trust us now. I have about $12 million in private money out in deals. And with bankers, yes, also. Like my banker just called me today and was like, hey, you want to go to the Bay Hill tournament? And when are you going to bring me some more deals? So like having those relationships are good. So it is always good to have those relationships and build those relationships and go back to the same guys. But you also want to make sure you're testing the market and see what else is out there.
For sure. So you're still rate shopping when you can?
For sure. We go into like this other guy, because we pay, Fairwinds is a very conservative bank and it works for us. But there's some other people who have been approaching us like, hey, we can do like 80% LTV. I'm like, oh, that's way better. I'll take a look at that and see if they can get the deal done. Now, Fairwinds has gotten the deal done quickly for us on like when we're on a short time period. So like they're crucial and we'll continue to do business with them. But, you know, we got to look at other sources as well and see what's out there.
Yeah, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. Man, super interesting. Like, I think like I go back to it because you know, a couple of my friends have been doing real estate much longer than me, and they're like, as soon as we got the private money piece of the puzzle, it changed our entire business. Because now you like you already have all these deals available, but you're just like, oh, I got to go wholesale it, or oh, I got to pass on it, or now you're like, I want that. I can identify that that's a deal. You see the value in it, and you can actually take it down. You know, so
and it makes you able to make stronger offers even when you're wholesaling. Because if you know you have the capital, you can make offers where, hey, it's a bidding war, but like, hey, I'll put the whole purchase price non-refundable, or I'll close quicker, all cash, and not be the highest offer. So you can still get a good deal when there's a whole bunch of competition, but because you have the capital to say, hey, I can take this down. If I can't sell it, I can take it down because I know these numbers will work for me. So when you can do that, it comes at a greater position of strength, and you can literally like shut down all the wholesalers and be like, hey, this guy has $100 deposit or $1,000 deposit. I'm gonna put $10,000 down. Right. My offer may not be higher, but I'm actually gonna close. Do you know this guy's gonna close? He's probably just gonna sell it. He's probably going to sell it to me.
Right.
You know?
It's probably so.
You know, so you can come out with a stronger offer.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Gives you a lot of credibility. And then like when you build those relationships, my first couple of investors like brought me other investors too. They're like, oh, here's my friends, you know? So just got to get a couple.
Yeah, we almost had that deal in Gainesville.
Yeah.
And you were just like, give them 3,000 more. Give them 2,000 more. I'm like, dang, bro, okay. I'll let them know.
Those Airbnbs, you gotta snatch them up.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I got to get the PML.
Yeah. Hey, we're trying.
We're trying.
That's the whole premise of why we're getting into the social media game. You know, trying to
one
meet
of the
people.
reasons, right?
Yeah, right. One of them.
Yeah, try to build the social proof and trust with people, and then like hopefully we can start partnering up with some like private money or investors, and yeah, man, that changes the whole game for sure.
There's a lot of people out there, and I don't know like if you've done a lot of wholesaling in the past or whatnot, but like that's one thing I haven't done because I haven't needed to yet. But I know like in my cash buyers list, we put out a house, one person buys it, 20 people make an offer, and then one person gets it, and it's a really good deal. Those other 19 people, well, they were cash buyers. They're not utilizing that money, and there's such a lack of deals out there. If you're like, hey, you missed out on that deal, but like, what if you want to be interested in lending on these other deals and be a partner? And then that way you can approach them that way. And then like, hey, you don't even have to do anything. Like this is passive. And whether you give them equity position or just debt, they can still get a good return. And they don't have to do anything. They're probably getting a better return than even if they owned the house themselves. Absolutely. And, you can build your private lenders that way. And one of my best private lenders is actually a seller from I sold her a bunch of her houses, and she started lending me money to do rehabs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. It's another blue gem right there, bro.
For sure. Dropping
Sellers and cash buyers.
Sellers and cash buyers. Yeah. Yeah. I know Pace does that too. You know, he's like, yeah, what are you going to do with this money when you sell it? Yeah. You know, she's like, I don't know.
Got to put it somewhere.
I'm going to stick it in the bank.
So I went to a conference, Alan Cowgill, he's out of Jacksonville. He teaches like how to put on like luncheons and stuff. And so I was actually getting set up to do that. And that's when the seller reached out to me. So I was like, I'm going to raise $1 million this year. I was like writing affirmations like in this event, you know. And then the week I left that event, she called me and was like, hey, do you ever, like you just sold this last house for me. Do you ever borrow money to do deals? I'm like, I do. And at the time I did. My friend was lending me the money, and we would split the deals 50-50. And then so she hit me up, and literally she lent me like $200,000 on the first house, then a couple of $100,000, and then I was like, well, how much money do you have? And she's like, oh, I got like plenty. She's like, just bring me deals and I'll tell you what I have. And I was like, okay.
You know, it's a good sign when they're like,
right.
Plenty.
Yeah, and
for sure.
So it works, but like just speaking that into existence, like making it happen, like, yo, I want to find, like, I don't want to try to find private money. Like I'm going to raise $1 million by June 1st, by May 1st, and put like a timeline and like put it out there again and again, and like literally speak it into existence and know like this is going to happen, and you're putting the action towards it, then it will fucking happen, bro.
So true. I'm going to write that shit down when we leave.
Affirmation tonight.
Need 12 million like Alex has.
Yeah.
Let me know.
It works, dude. It's crazy.
Oh man, I love that. So I think we touched base a bunch on things. You want to get into the last 4 questions?
Yeah, for sure. So we, you know, obviously, again, you've had an incredibly successful career, but I want to take it back all the way to the beginning. What would be your advice to someone just getting started in the real estate game?
It's a good one.
I know it's been a minute, but
Well, one, I would reinvest the money into. So 2 things I should have done earlier. One, I would have gotten to bigger deals faster. So I would have gotten to like self-storage faster, or mobile home parks, apartment buildings, and buy bigger deals faster. But it does help to have private money first. The other thing would be to like reinvest in marketing. I was happy in just doing 3 to 5 deals a month, thinking that was good. But when I started reinvesting into the marketing and upping my marketing consistently, that's when we were able to really scale. So I think building a team faster, reinvesting in the marketing, and then building a team quicker will allow you to get into other asset classes and do more things. And that's what I took too long, in my opinion, to do. Obviously, it's the journey. It took me where I am, and I'm good. But those are the 2 things I would have done in the beginning, is get into bigger deals faster, and also reinvest in marketing quicker.
invest in marketing. Love it. Why short-term rentals as an asset class?
That one's strictly cash flow. Like the cash flow is just greater than anything else. Like it's crazy. So on Palm Coast on a rental, I probably would have made $400 or $500 a month. And for me, all my single family rentals, I don't touch any of the money that it might be making. It's not, my opinion, it's not passive income. Those rentals, you can make $300, $400 or $500 a month, and a whole year make you $5-6 grand. AC goes out, all that money is pretty much gone. So one year I had 8 ACs, or it was like 12, I think. 12 ACs had to be replaced. Like that's all that income plus other houses, passive income. So there's no, to me, that's not passive income that you can say, I'm going to go make my car payment with this rental each month. I'm going to buy this one rental and make my $500 car payment each month. That's not going to happen. You better be putting that money aside or underwriting for reserves, which a lot of people don't do. So I don't touch any of my money for rentals. It just stays in the account. I'm never going to see it. I'll make money when I sell the property or it's paid off in full. For Airbnbs, that's real cash flow. Like on one Palm Coast house, we netted the first month $3,700. Like that's real money.
Yeah, you can spend that.
You can spend that money.
That's more than half of your year on another one, on a long-term rental.
Even if an AC goes out, that's 2 months of cash flow.
Exactly. So like Chris asked me, he's like, yeah, like this one in Tampa, we're doing a lot of things. He's like, I also want to redo this and this. I'm like, spend it, bro. Like, because like the Airbnb can pay you back so much quicker that I'm willing to overinvest into it, make it the nicest, beautiful property so it gets 5 stars, keeps that high rating. It's what people expect when they go there, and it continues to stay top ranked. And so it will cash flow, and that's the only reason for Airbnb is actually cash flows very well.
And then I know you do a lot of your own marketing, so this question is going to be different for you because we're wanting to know how you're going and selecting a market to do Airbnb. But from what you've explained, you have deals fall into your lap and you're kind of deciding from there whether or not it makes sense to do Airbnb. But how would you say that a market would make sense for that?
So I think, and this is my opinion for pretty much everything, like whether you want to do rehabs, where you just want to buy single family rentals or Airbnbs, is you just market and wholesale the things that don't make sense. So we have a wholesale company, and then through the wholesale company, we market all throughout Florida. This one's a good Airbnb, we'll Airbnb it. This one's a good rehab, we'll rehab it. But if you're like, I want to buy Airbnbs, and you're just looking for Airbnbs, like, how do you just look for Airbnbs? Like, you can look at zip codes, but you're marketing to the whole zip code. So if it's a rehab that you can't do a full rehab because you don't have the capital, you have to buy it with seller financing or whatever it is. Like, people are like, I want to buy seller finance deals. You just need a market, and then come with the
strategy later on.
Whatever that comes your way. If you're like, oh, I can just wholesale this. The rehab's too much. Okay, this one I can do. This one I can buy myself at Airbnb. Oh, this one's not Airbnb allowed in this area because there's an HOA. Well, I'll wholesale it to this guy who just wants to buy single family rentals. Or I'll do this. Like, you just have to work the extra strategies. It's my opinion, but I think you just have to have all the tools in the tool belt and then see what fits. Instead of just being like, I'm looking for Airbnbs, and that's it. Because unless you're just buying them from wholesalers or something like that, that might make sense. But if you're spending marketing money to like a cold call or a direct mail,
you have to convert on everything.
You have to convert. You won't be able to, your marketing spend will kill you.
Yeah, it's all about conversion at that point in time. You're like filtering this bucket, and you're just like, okay, like this doesn't fit, but I have to wholesale it, or this doesn't fit because of HOA, but I'll turn it into long-term rental. You have to convert. That makes sense. Yeah.
Do you think everyone should be marketing for their own deals, or should some people just focus on getting a relationship with a good wholesaler?
Well, you can't rely on like one person, and obviously there's a bunch of wholesalers out there, but I think if you have the capacity to pay for the marketing and handle the calls and take the calls in, then yes, you should. But if you like have a full-time job and it's easier for you to not pay I bought several properties from wholesalers, even though I have a huge company and we're doing tons of deals. Just you guys get deals I can't get. You might get a random deal that I can get. But if you are also marketing, you'll get to pick up 1 or 2 deals yourself, a month, a year. So it's always still good to do your own marketing, I feel, if you have the capacity to answer the calls. That's the most important thing.
Could you outsource that component if you worked full time? Or you think it's too important?
You can as long as somebody picks up the phone, that's good. You just want to make sure you get back to them as quick as possible, especially for like the hot fire leads. Like if you're not there right away, especially like a PPC lead, if you're doing like direct mail marketing or cold calling, for sure. But if you're doing pay-per-click, you have to have someone ready to go, because pay-per-click, if people don't know, it's Google advertising. I buy houses Orlando. And so for that, if this person doesn't answer the phone, they're just going to the next one on the list, because it's on Google. It's just like boom, boom, boom. So you have to make sure somebody's answering their phone for that. But for direct mail and things like that, you can use like automated answer services, so at least somebody live picks up the phone and collects the basic information and be like, okay, JB will get back to you in 24 hours.
Smart. I love that. And then the last question was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your goals? What are you trying to do? What do you need help with?
So big smile.
So we are looking to continue to grow our wholesale company. We're looking pretty much grow all facets of our business. We also have a call center in South America that I'm strategically partnered with. And so we are looking to grow all those businesses simultaneously. My main focus would be right now on storage and raising money. And so we're always looking for partners on those on those two things, raising money, people who want to partner with us on deals and get into these commercial deals and whatnot, and then buying more commercial properties. In 5 years, I would like to be so how I had my wholesale team like kind of automated and running itself, kind of have that with the self-storage, where I have the team that's like running itself. Like they're buying properties, they're picking up deals. We have everybody in place, underwriters and acquisition agents and, engineers and all that, pretty much doing everything. And we just oversee it. And I'm just overseeing everything. And my main focus is just like raising money, talking to people, doing some coaching stuff. And, I would like to be at 5,000 doors by that point.
5,000 doors. That's crazy. Where can people learn more about you?
Instagram is alex.theinvestor.quezada, Quezada. And vaultventures.net. So on there you can, put your information in if you're an active investor and get on our wholesale list. Or if you're a passive investor and you're looking to invest in, other deals that come up in the future. Vaultventures.net. Yep.
You got it all figured out. I love it. Thank you,
man. Thank you guys.
Brother. Absolutely, man.